This is the Sony Alpha NEX-7, the latest camera in Sony's NEX series. The NEX is basically Sony's interchangeable lens camera series, a series of cameras that's designed to, allow anybody to pick up a camera and take advantage of, the big sensor, which is an APS-C sensor, and that's found on most consumer DSLRs, and have the opportunity to change lenses, yet still be able to use it easily thanks to a lot of software and CPU power found in their cameras. So that's what the NEX series is known for. But one of the complaints of the NEX cameras are that there aren't enough physical controls for professionals, people who are used to changing settings all the time. Really, Sony has designed their previous cameras to be used in automatic mode most of the time. That's why they are automatic. The intelligent auto is very powerful and really very intelligent. But there are people who want more control, especially as they start to learn more about photography. Also thanks to the software, the help guides that's found inside the camera itself. So they came up with the NEX-7. There's two things that they've done with it. One is that they've really made the controls something that's very powerful. Secondly, they made the hardware very powerful as well. We did an episode of Gear65 on the Sony Alpha A77 DSLR a few months ago, and well, it's not really an SLR, it's an SLT with a translucent mirror. And the A77 is Sony's highest-end APS-C camera. So it's just before their full-frame cameras. It is their highest-end flagship camera right now. And they took the sensor, which is a 24.3 megapixel sensor, APS-C sensor, and they put it into the NEX-7 itself. So you get really good photo quality, and also beyond not just the sensor, but it also has the same ability to take up to 10 frames per second, which is pretty insane. Another thing that they've done is that they put in an electronic viewfinder. I mean, most consumers wouldn't really care about electronic viewfinder, but professionals will. And they put in a really high-end electronic viewfinder, the exact same one, again, that's found in the A77. So we're talking about 1024 by 768 OLED display inside here, really high-end, really high resolution, and really bright. And they've replaced the proprietary flash mounts. So Sony had an accessory mount on top here for their previous NEX cameras, and they replaced it with a proper DSLR, Sony Alpha flash mount. Of course, it's still kind of proprietary, but at least all of the professional flashes that Sony DSLRs can use, you can now fix it onto the NEX. Sony does sell an official adapter that allows you to adapt this hot shoe into the normal hot shoe that most Canon and Nikon cameras use. But beyond that, not just changing the shoe, they put a built-in flash as well. So of course, it's still a built-in flash, so you don't expect really powerful stuff. But at least now that it's built in, you don't need to carry an extra little dongle around with you all the time. So again, this is the E-mount mounts, and so you got E-mount sensors. Right now, there's lenses. I'm sorry. There are 3 lenses right now on the market, which is the 1855, which is this one right here that comes with the body, and this is a special edition 1855 lens. It's black in color. However, the thing is that it looks like the black is actually spray painted on. So with time, as wear and tear happens, right, the silver that's underneath it might start appearing. So that's one thing you might want to take note. There's also the 16mm pancake wide-angle lens, as well as the 18-200 lens. There is one kit that Sony is going to be releasing with the NEX-7, which is a 25mm Zeiss prime lens. The lens itself is more expensive than the camera, so but that is a very powerful lens, and that will be the 4th one. Over here I have a 35mm lens. This is a SLR Magic third-party lens, prime lens as well, f1.7. So there's a lot, actually not too bad when it comes to options. Nothing, still nothing compared to the Micro Four Thirds, of course, but nevertheless, a lot of options that you have there. Also, like if you got yourself a tilt screen right here, and it tilts completely upwards 90 degrees. However, downwards it only goes up to this much, right? Compared to the previous ones can do 90 degrees all the way. So and then what else we have here? We have SD as well as memory stick card slot, just like all the other NEX cameras. And on the other side, they've added more professional features. So apart from your normal HDMI and USB, they put in a dedicated microphone in, which is great if you do a lot of video, right? You can just plug in a powered microphone, and you can use it together with the NEX NEX-7 records video at 1080p using AVC HD, which is something I'm not a fan of, but thankfully you can record at MPEG-4 as well at 1080p, so that's a good thing. On the front here you have your stereo microphone, your shutter button. This is a remote sensor. If you buy the optional remote control, you can take remotes, photos remotely. You have the autofocus lights, and here you have a button which I'll explain a little bit more about. So like I mentioned, in terms of hardware, it's really pretty high-end, but the highlight really is, to me, is the controls. In the past, anytime you want to do anything with the software, you got to change settings through the menu, but thankfully with the NEX-7, they've added 2 extra dials over here. So at one point in time, any point in time, you can change up to 3 controls. So I'm just gonna switch this to the manual mode to show you what I'm talking about. So right now I'm in manual mode, and with these 3 dials, you can control 3 settings at the same time. So over here, I'm changing the shutter speed. On the right wheel, I'm right now changing the aperture, so you can see the corresponding settings right here. And when I turn this dial, I'll be changing the ISO, which is right now at 100, and I'm gonna switch it down to auto. Oh, there is no auto in manual. So you can actually change the ISO and see it live. Remember I told you there's an extra button right over here. Every time you choose this button, it cycles through a bunch of extra settings. So I'm going to push it now, and this is the white balance setting. So now, turning the left dial will change to presets. Turning the right dial will change from the white balance, how much orange or how much blue you want to add to it. When you turn this wheel, it's going up the X and Y axis, the Y axis, sorry, and turning this wheel will change the X axis in the color. So now you have like insane amount of granular controls when it comes to white balancing, which is really very amazing. Instead of just +1, -1, you actually see what kind of colors you're changing. Push it again, you have some the DRO, HDR controls. Over here you have presets, vivid, color, neutral, and sepia and things like that. You can change saturation, contrast, and change the options by turning the dial here. So these are the examples of the amount of control you have on this side, which is pretty amazing. They've also added an extra switch, which I really appreciate. This is an autofocus and manual focus button. In the past, you need to go through menus. Right, so right now, let's say for example, right now I am in manual autofocus. So I set it to whenever I push this once, it'll turn to manual. So right now I'm in manual focus. Alright, you can set it to press and hold or just push. There's also an AEL lock. AEL is basically auto exposure lock. So now whenever you press and hold it, sorry, it's not available in this mode since it's only for auto modes. But when you press and hold this, you can lock the exposure, which is very useful. So now you can lock the exposure and the focus independently of each other. So you can have any combination of that, which is pretty amazing. But even though of all this amount of power, right, Sony still retain all of the amazing software that's found inside all the NEX cameras. And when I'm saying all, I'm talking about all of the software. A few months ago, we reviewed the Sony VG NEX, the NEX VG10, which is the video camcorder version of the NEX camera, and they stripped off a lot of software. But thankfully, with the NEX-7, you have everything. You have the sweep panorama, which is very good, 3D panorama. You still have the anti-motion blur, which is a mode where when you take the picture and it takes up to about 6 photos and stitches them together, a little bit like HDR, but not really. But using some kind of CPU processing and post-processing allows you to take really good photos even in low light without flash. Right, you still have all the scene selections and intelligent auto, which is very useful. And like I mentioned earlier, I really want to show this off, but it can take pictures in 10 frames per second, so I can do this and which is really crazy. And the best part is, compared to the earlier models, the first generation NEX models, the NEX-7 has a much more silent shutter, so which is good. Alright, so going through the camera modes, white balancing, I show you that. Let me show you some other cool stuff. There's now object tracking available as well. So when I turn this on, so let's say on. So object tracking allows you to track any object. So right now I'm going to track the lens cap, and so if you move it slowly towards left and right, you'll see that the camera is able to follow the lens cap, so that it's always in focus, which is really useful feature. So which is really fun. So that was object tracking, and another feature that I found that was really cool was they have a face registration. So normally you have face detection, but now there's something called face registration, where you can register any face. So when you register this face inside the camera will always recognize this face in the future, and if this person, for example, appears in the frame, it will actually prioritize this person's face, so that this person's face is always in focus as the priority, which is a really nice feature, by the way. And all this is thanks to the fact that they've got good you know, they've got a really powerful CPU inside the camera, just as all the other NEX cameras. And thankfully there's Wi-Fi support, so you can see that I have an Wi-Fi card put inside the camera. So you know, if you have an Wi-Fi card, they will support the Wi-Fi features and allow you to turn the Wi-Fi upload on and off within the camera settings. And finally, you know, they've really made the camera very customizable in terms of the controls. You still have the custom menus, so you can have 3 or 4 sets of custom menus to put inside there, and above, you know, the extra control that you have already with the dials. So you have a lot of controls at your fingertips right now compared to the previous NEX models. So yeah, this is it. This is the Sony Alpha NEX-7. I'm quite a huge fan of this camera because I personally, in fact this video currently is being recorded using an NEX3. That's what we use at Tech65. You know, I'm really quite a fan of this because of how much control it gives you and all the extra little features that they're adding. This is a tilt sensor, for example, that shows you X and Y tilt. And you know, a lot of controls, all the power that you could never have. And if you ever want to turn this NEX-7 camera into an Alpha A77, you can do that at any point in time. All you need to do is to you can purchase this extra adapter, Alpha mount adapter that comes with a mirror. So it's a huge adapter that comes with a mirror to speed up the autofocus, much faster autofocus, and all the benefits of the A77 camera. And remember, because it's using the same sensor and the same electronic viewfinder, you literally can turn this camera into a Sony Alpha A77 whenever you want to. So it's a good camera to have that is portable and really easy to carry around with you. And anytime you need a lot of power, you just swap in the adapter, swap in the powerful lens, powerful flashes, use the professional lenses and the whole Alpha series, and you're all set. The only problem that I found with this camera is that there is no support, or rather they intentionally detect for third-party batteries. So whenever you put in a third-party battery, which sometimes vendors like to give out, the camera will reject it and tell you that tell you to put in a proper model, which is kind of annoying. So that's one of the things that I'm currently annoyed with. But if you are really a professional photographer, you gotta take a look at it still though, because some people still want more controls, and some people still find it easier to use a DSLR compared to something like this. So that's totally up to you. But personally, I found this to be a lot more power and a lot more control compared to the previous generation of the NEX cameras. So that was the Sony Alpha NEX-7. It's currently not on sale in Singapore yet, and the production has been slightly delayed thanks to the floods in Thailand. But once they're on sale, you can get it at $1,200 US, around there. There's an estimate there for just the kit the body only. Well, the kit is probably going to be about $1,400 US. So expect the prices to be around that range in Singapore once they are out. And again, if you go and find a kit with a Zeiss 25mm lens, it's probably going to be $2,000 or so. So yeah, if you like this video, you thought this video was very useful to you, taught you a little bit about this camera, and help you decide whether or not to get this camera, give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/65bits, and don't forget to visit our website, www.tech65.org, for more awesome tech content. I'm Daniel for Tech65, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!